Substandard intro music. My intro music is substandard because I do it with my mouth. My mouth. Well, that shadow is kind of annoying. Maybe we go up there. Greetings, programs. Your old buddy Ingrid Bernal, Hankerin Fernail back here, coming at you from Runehammer. This is Drunkards and Dragons. I'm behind the camera. That's me up there. How y'all doing? What's up? I hope you're getting a high-grade picture over there because I'm using the proper camera this time. At least I think I am. Who knows if I really am? But hello, welcome back. I'm going to try to use this better camera. I'm pointing right here at one of my little work surfaces here in my laboratory. And I wanted to share with you guys both a bit of news as well as a bit of technique. So let me see if I can, just a second here. I can do that. Cool. All right, so every once in a while I take a little breather and I can see all your comments and stuff like that. Generally, I won't see it as I work, okay? So this is what we call a one-way communication. Okay, so hello everybody, welcome back. I'll throw the link on the description of this video when I'm done here today. But if you give a quick Google to the Heroes and Hardships Kickstarter. So Heroes and Hardships has been around a little while doing this, that, the other thing. But the fun news is that old Jason Duff over there at Earl of Fife Games, who's created Heroes and Hardships. It's a D10 dice pooling universal type system. Well, he hit me up and he wanted me to do an adventure for his upcoming Kickstarter core rulebook as one of the stretch goals. And it would be a cool little, I love these, but you get like a pamphlet sort of style softback adventure with your book. I really like those. For some reason, those really scratch an itch for me, where it's just the adventure. It's not like hidden in the back of the core book or something like that. It's cool. So just right off the bat, I'm interested. And it may seem crazy. We've been on this journey together now for, almost 7 years. And this is the first time I've really just been approached on a straight up, like, quote unquote, normal writing agreement, right? It's just you do a writing assignment by word count. I don't have to do the layout. I'm not doing the art. It's just the writing to do an adventure. As a, like a freelance writer, it's super exciting. I love just doing the writing. It's so cool. And then seeing what other people create out of that writing. So I'm like, dude, hell yeah. So part of that deal is to create that adventure once and if that stretch goal is met on the Kickstarter campaign. Again, the system is called Heroes and Hardships. But another part of it is a couple times to sound off about it. And I'm not really doing that because that's the deal. I'm doing it because I'm excited. This is me writing a third-party adventure. And what's crazy is that the target is, drumroll please, is 10,000 words. So a lot of you probably don't sit around thinking about word count and what it translates into, like material or content, but a lot of novels are between 50 and 70,000 words. So like 10,000 words is a nice hefty chunk of work. So it's super exciting to me. So that's the little intro to the video today, but that's not really, I'm not here just to talk about all the sort of fun of what that's going to be and then watching the Kickstarter unfold and just basically hoping we reach that stretch goal. I need some foundational work to sort of get this work done because I think the stretch goal will happen. I want to do this. I'm going to be optimistic about it. So I'm not just going to wait till the last second. I need to get some creative traction on this. And to do so, I'm facing this thing that we talk about so often here on Runehammer, as well as just in our hobby in general, which is this blank page in your journal, right? This is it. This is the moment that we go from our normal life and our errands and our chores to going into this imagination space. And we're always met with this difficult sort of landscape, which is this blank page. And I know that I'm needing to make something I really don't make a lot of. So I'm a little bit outside my comfort zone, right? I don't make a lot of big, quote unquote, fully realized adventures, like full sort of this is what the adventure will be in multiple chapters, and not just leaving it open to player agency, not just leaving it open to GM DIY, actually laying out as much of a fully realized adventure as I can. Okay, so I'm out of my comfort zone and I got my blank page, and where do I begin? And what I wanted to show you guys, as well as, sort of recommend to you as a possible tool, would be this what's called the circle method. Hang on, making sure my feed is on point there. Okay, cool. Yeah, great. All right, my feed is on point. Everything's working. So good to have everybody. Thanks for tuning in. So what's the circle method? Well, let's start with what you might have guessed we're going to start with. A motherfucking circle. I just drew a circle. I'm going to put some dots on this bad boy. I'm going to put some dots. They don't even have to be evenly. Why aren't they evenly spaced? I don't know. I'm just living in a Bob Ross type mindset right now. See, now what I'm doing here, I'm getting it to look as if I'm doing something that I know what I'm doing. Everybody can draw a circle and everybody can put dots on that circle. Absolutely no special skills are required. And now what I'm doing, I don't know why I do this stuff, but I just have a compulsion to darken in my pen lines. Some of them super clean, some of them sloppy. I don't care. It's just a compulsion of mine. There needs to be a dot here. I don't know why. Okay, so it looks like I'm doing something that I seem competent doing, or like I know what I'm doing. This is a great way to start for me because it gets the positive vibes going. Like, my book already looks kind of cool. Like, you turn to this page, you're like here and like, ooh, that there's something going on here. And that's a good feeling. I like that feeling when I'm doing my work. Okay, so we have our circle and we have our dots. Now, I know that I'm doing a creative assignment. I know I'm doing like a fantasy adventure. I know some of my foundations, right? But what I need to do is make some decisions. Okay, and now I've got some ideas I've been kicking around in my head, like while I'm driving to school or whatever. So let's just start getting them out. First of all, fighters. Okay, you guys know me. I think fighters are super freaking cool. And not only do I think they're cool, I think they're underserved in our hobby. So I want to do something that's fighters. So fighters focus. Let's put it that way. All right. There's another thing I really, really dig, which is armor and all the details of armor. And what do I put? Armor authentic. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like a historical analysis of armor. It doesn't have to be realistic, but you get this feeling of authenticity with the armor and the treatment of armor. And of course, that's something that's going to be important to fighters, right? Fighters and their armor, I mean, they're homies. Okay, now, what else? If armor and fighters are kind of my focus, then somehow, magic this is a big word, nullified. So many fantasy adventures and fantasy stories hinge or rotate upon a magical MacGuffin of some kind. Magic gives us an explanation for why strange things happen. And so it almost always winds up at the center of fantasy stories in some way. And we're going to try to not do that as a counterpoint. Okay, we're going to try to not have that happen. And in fact, we're going to go all the way to the other side, which is that magic is nullified. In whatever this is. I still don't really know how this is all going to come together, but that's what I'm going to show you with this method. I'm just doing things that I think might sound cool. I think then if magic is nullified, this next dot here there's a wizard holdout. I'm not sure what that is yet, but it means that even though magic is threatened or is nullified or is imperiled here, there's one wizard who is holding out against whatever this threat is or this impending situation. There's a wizard holdout. I think with fighters as the focus too, as an AD&D head, fighters always remind me of one word, fortress. Right? 9th level fighters build a stronghold or a fortress, and it's always a thing. In a lot of the great games that I've played over the years, the fortress fighter relationship is almost why it's a way to reward fighters, because through a lot of their leveling up journey, they're not experiencing a bunch of crazy add-ons like some of the other classes. So let's make sure we get that fortress in there. Um, what else do we have? I want to get, you guys have heard, if you've been reading my blog and watching my videos recently, I'm definitely on this like this small kind of feel. I'm something is beckoning me from a smaller world. And so let's call this a small and remote world, or not world, but location. So we're not going to have a big city. We're not going to have, King's Landing. We're not going to have, the Dark Tower. We're not going to have these really overdeveloped fantasy scenes. We're going to have an underdeveloped fantasy scene. Okay. So there's going to be more value placed on less things rather than more things and each one is less valuable, like we know in a more developed society. So we are out in the wilds. We are at the edge of things, the frontier, so to speak. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3 dots to go. Now this is already part of why the circle system or method can feel really rewarding and comforting, because I feel like if I can get these last 3 dots filled in, I somehow have done it or something. I've somehow done it. And that's a good thing, because not knowing how long your list is and just trying to work in a void is really tough. So right here in this little cluster, I think there's one more thing. I need my cool bad guy, and I'm going to call him like Arak. I have no idea why. It just sounds like a bad guy. Arak, and he's like, for the lack of not having an idea, you notice how I hesitated there? Like, what is Arak? What is it exact? I don't know yet, because I'm in the creative experience. So I'll just call him the big bad guy for now. Now, obviously, since I want everyone to get into this Kickstarter and get this adventure to be funded and to be created, I can't expose everything I'm going to do on this stream. I can only show you the very beginning of this process, and then the rest will have to be left until the adventure can be acquired. So don't get yourself too psyched to get every single detail on what this is going to be, because I just felt myself do it. Okay, so over here, something's developing here. I noticed these 3 kind of have a theme going. These 2 have a bit of a theme. So that wasn't really something that you have to do, that's required or that's planned. It just is happening. I don't know what this is, but I think there needs to be a lost smith. In a remote or small fantasy environment, like a master smith is an extremely high value person, and somehow he's kind of lost or missing or something. And then for this last bit, let's do some kind of, I don't know what this is, but I know I need this. In all my good adventure sort of setups, I need some kind of fountain that's going to give me lots of monsters and different monsters, but with some kind of unified explanation of why there are all the monsters, right? Like in Legend of Zelda, it's Ganon. Ganon brings this evil to the land that sometimes manifests in the blood moon, right? And that re-empowers the landscape with these monsters, and that's why they're crawling around everywhere. And so even though you might encounter many different monsters of different types, they're crawling around because of this core explanation. And here, I don't really know what it means yet, but I just wrote it as spores and beasts. So there's some kind of beasts who are being affected by spores, and this is going to let me create multiple bad guys somehow. And notice, spores are not magical. This is a cultivated thing somehow. This is natural. This is a scientific explanation for my monsters, not a glowing crystal or a spell gone wrong or ghosts or something like that. Okay, so now I have some ideas here. I really don't know what seems to be focusing on your hands more than the paper. I see. So is there manual focus on here? I don't know. But once again, I apparently fail at this. So let me take a look at what the feed looks like. Let's see. She ain't so bad. She ain't so bad. Okay, so now I'll take my hands out so you can see it. It makes me sad, but there you go. So yeah, apparently I'm going to have to buy some kind of overpriced camera. I'll have to be that guy, because the web camera's not good enough, the computer's not good enough, the iPhone's not good enough. Oh, the internet. It really has changed. So anyways, where was I? Um, well, I've written some things in a circle here and then autofocus. Yeah. Uh, uh, okay. So you are facing the blank of this creativity. You get this circle done. You write down some things that you know would be cool or think might be cool. They aren't really prescriptive upon the players. They're not saying this is how it has to be. They are more like ripenesses. They're ripeness in your environment that's going to ask for action. Okay? So now we have the fun part of the circle method to do. When my brain gets sent into another dimension, it is very slow to return. I also usually take like an hour of pure concentration to do these. So, all right, let's do some things. Let's put some compass looking things on here. These are arrows going 4 directions for no damn reason. Okay, so now let's make some connections. And hang on, just bear with me while I do this. So these definitely have connections. Like the fortress and the bad guy are definitely I'm going to do my first thing. Look at that. A dot leads to another dot. And I say is building army. So my bad guy, Arak, is building an army in his fortress. Okay, that seems somewhat obvious, but sure. Let's make another crazy connection. This one's called cultivates. Wait a minute. Is cause of. You see what I'm doing? This is how you do it. This is the magic of the circle method. I've got ideas that I know might be cool, but then by using arrows, you connect these ideas in either linkages of causality or linkages of narrative or linkages of eventual revelation, if any of that makes sense. Okay, so now let's keep on going. This lost smith is going to supply the fighter focus. Does that make sense? Armor authentic. So we're going to have all these cool details. And this somehow goes to the... So I know there's a link here, so I'm going to draw my arrow. But I don't know what that link is yet. There's just an arrow there. It's like... What could that be? It's like village value. Does that make any sense? Not value village. Okay, so somehow the village that... or towns that are being threatened by this story that's unfolding have put this amazing value on this armor smith or this weaponsmith, this master smith who is missing because his value is suddenly so high because these spore-infected beasts are nullifying magic everywhere. So if a fantasy world that depends on magic is suddenly robbed of so many magical elements, the value of craft goes up. Does that make sense to everybody? The wizard holdout. Ooh, boy, that's a tough one. I'm going to have to say... And this is called research. I spelled it wrong, but I don't care because I live here. So this wizard holdout is in terrible danger, but is still like researching or investigating these spore beasts that are nullifying magic. You see how I get like sentences that start to form out of my circle? That's when you know you're getting dividends out of it. Now I have this over here. There's a small and remote location. That's kind of a theme that's throughout the whole story, but what dot could I link it to? Maybe this army. I'm going to give this army a dot, and I'm going to go, it's kind of going to go underneath everything. like that, and that's going to be will destroy. When this army reaches its capacity, its scale, it's ready, this army is going to move out into the bigger world, and it's going to completely decimate the local population in so doing. They will plunder the area to supply themselves for a greater march. Okay, so we've got at least one connection between our dots, and our diagram is getting a little messy, right? So if it's starting to feel messy, that probably means slow down just a bit. You're getting quite a lot of data. You're getting dividends out of this method right now. So it's like, wow, I'm getting such good dividends, I'm running out of space a little bit. So let's pause for a second and look at what these arrows are. These arrows are what I refer to in my work as the 4 winds. They're not really officially part of, I guess, what you'd call the circle method if you look it up on the internet, but it's something that I do a lot of the time that you guys have probably heard me do. So we're going to call these 1, 2, 3, and 4. And they can even be north, west, south, and east if you want. I mean, let's actually, not they can be. Let's go with it. North, east, du sud, and à l'ouest. Okay? So now over here, I always do right pages first because I'm totally insane that way. Let's get a quick note on what these are in their beginning and their end. And let me explain why. What does their beginning and their end mean exactly? In the beginning of an adventure, things, places, people, and situations have a state that they're in, right? So let's say at the beginning of the adventure, there are a couple of small weeds growing in the garden. The adventure is, will the heroes go pull the weeds out of the garden? Or will they stay in the tavern and drink all day? If they decide to go to the garden and pull the weeds, the farmer is happy. If they don't go to the garden, weeds fill the garden. So you see, there's a beginning state which asks hero to do something. And if they don't go do that thing, the thing or the idea, the theme, reaches an end state. And that's what I want to think about for both. I want to think about both those things for all 4 directions right now. Okay, you follow me? So, up in the north, where we're just going to go with it. The circle is informing us now. So the fortress and the focus on fighters and Arak and everything. So the start is he's building an army. And building is enough for me. If the players don't directly confront this guy, it's going to be ruin for locals and war beyond. Now, obviously, this makes it sound like this is the core focus of the adventure, right? Don't let these guys do this. This would be really bad. Not only are they destroying all magic, they're building an army to go take it out on the world. And of course, we can come up with all kinds of cool reasons about this character Arak of why he's on such an errand, but I'm not here to give you guys all the details. Remember, I'm here just to revel in my own starting place. And then you're going to have to wait for this cool Kickstarter, it's called Heroes and Hardships, to come up to actually see the output of this process. Okay, so number 2, we have the East over here. The authentic feeling of armor and the wizard holdout who is researching these spore beasts. And you know what? Why aren't these 2 connected too? And this is called forced to accept. So the wizard is forced to accept how important it is to know armor, how important it is to know implements, weapons, craftsmanship, fighting maneuvers. And this is one of these moments where we really tell fighters who are playing this game, you are extra cool. The wizards are out of their realm right now, and this is a time for fighters, so much so that wizards are even challenged to suit up, learn a few moves with a sword, and set their spells aside. Because not only are they at high risk if they're discovered as a magic user, but even to use magic in the presence of these beasts is somehow to invite being drained or nullified, right? So the wizard the fighter is really lifted up. Okay, so when we're in the East, we're working on this. So there's a secret hut. I don't know, there's a wizard hiding in a secret hut. And if the players don't help this wizard hold out, the last wizard will die, will be nullified. drained. So the last real powerful wizard in this entire area of our world, if our players don't do something about it, the research will lead them into a deadly or a terrible ending of some sort. Nice. Okay, so now in the south, magic will be nullified. This one is pretty easy. So the beasts are roaming. That's the starting state in the south. And if the players don't do something about these roaming, magic nullifying spore beasts, magic itself will end. So this is a great dilemma for players right here between these two. Do you save this individual wizard, or do you worry more about the even larger problem, which is that magic itself in this region could be nullified, not just the life of this one, and you really got to make that wizard hold out a character you care about, someone beloved, because you got to make that choice hurt, right? Just like with Spock when he has to change out the reactor in Wrath of Khan. The only reason that was exciting is because you give a fuck about Spock. If it was just some red shirt guy, you'd be like, yeah, throw him in the reactor, no big deal. All right, number 4, West. West, we have the Lost Smith, who it really is a lot like the wizard holdout kind of character. So he's in hiding somewhere, so they need to find him. And then we kind of have this remote feeling. So let's make this like a wilderness vibe over here in the West. So how does it start? It starts with the Smith being lost. So finding him would be the journey, right? So Smith is missing. And if the heroes don't go to try to find this lost armor smith, this master worker, what happens? They won't be able to fight Arak. Can't overcome Arak. So actually we have a hidden piece of data that just popped out for us. And we're going to put it in parentheses. Smith, let's just keep it abstract. Items. So this masterwork smith, as all of you probably guessed, has the access to maybe something like cold iron, but technology that can make the few overcome the many, right? Because Arak and all his soldiers are ridding the land of magic and building an army at the same time. We can all see where this is going. The only way to overcome them with a small group of heroes is with superior equipment. And this is where the superior equipment lives, is right here with this missing masterwork smith. So I went from my blank page, a very vague set of thoughts that popped into my head during driving my car, into my circle method, my dots, my connective concepts, and then this stuff, which is do or let die. This is a new way of wording my old rule. But when characters and players go to address one of these situations, things will improve. But they can't do all 4 of them all at the same time. So where they don't go, things get worse. Do or let die, right? It doesn't mean that everything is just bound to completely fall apart. As you can see, there are mixed forms of success and victory here. And what the players decide to do as far as these 4 directions defines what's going to happen here. My job isn't to define what's going to happen. My job is to give them this environment and dynamic states in this environment that they can play with. Hold on to your guts. Whoa. Hey. My foot was hooked underneath that. There you go. Can you see me? Am I in there? Is it auto-focusing on my feet? Even though I'm looking right at the camera? Probably. Let's see if I can get up to this, the now. Here I am at the now. Hi guys, it's me. Yes, that was me behind the camera. So that is circle method. And I'm sure there are several credits to several awesome people who both use and invent and modify and innovate this method. But I kind of butcher it in my own way and do what I must to get the results that I need out of it. So let me see if I can... Hey, there I am. Look, I'm in a white t-shirt. How seldom is that? That just goes to show how crazy today is. I'm wearing a white Hey Slow t-shirt. Anyways, hey guys. Okay, so if you want to throw any questions at me, yeah, I'm very fuzzy. Look at me. I'm looking grimy after a weekend in the woods. Yeah, so there it is. I'm trying to. There's a very good question. Is Arak the one that provides the name for the feather of Arak and ICME Path of Oak? Probably. There you go. So he's definitely an archery focused fighter, and that's a good start. So another part of why I wanted to do this fighter based module, well, the main reason is a lack of tons of them. But another reason is to find an excuse to squeeze in a bunch of cool maneuvers and maybe a sort of a endurance or fury type system that'd be a microcurrency for fighters to play to get more detail and excitement and feeling special in whatever game you might be using. I feel like it's a perennial topic. It comes up a lot. Like how come fighters don't have things as cool as spells? And you can't just load them up with feats that give them extra actions because it gets annoying. So I'd like to throw my hat in the ring, so to speak, about maybe a cool fighter maneuver or tactic system. So yeah, remember if you got, let's just throw a couple questions in because today is Monday, so today is Get Everything Done Day. So I'm out of here soon. But if you have a question, put it in all caps, throw it in. We'll do a few, and we'll get the hell out of here. You know what I'm saying? Cause what is it? 1 o'clock already? That was insane. Yeah, you know, a lot of the names that I use, especially when I'm in the brainstorming phase, are names that live throughout my work. I have no explanation for it. It's not on purpose. It just tends to happen. It's very weird. Yeah. So they do, and then what I do is I'll just embrace it, like you guys are saying, and just let it be that thing that was already mentioned, and just somehow there's a tie in there, and that's all sort of just letting your right brain kind of do subconscious creative work for you, and then not questioning it. I don't have a. This is Hunter. This is not my Kickstarter. This is the Kickstarter for Heroes and Hardships by Jason Duff and Earl of Fife Games. It's just in its preview phase right now, so if you jump to that link on Kickstarter, you'll see the preview. It says coming soon. But this is the first time you're going to hear from it, at least from me, and you'll hear from it again when it launches, because I'm writing this big adventure for them. Are there softwares? No. No, there's no software that will help you with something like mind mapping. Even a pen and paper can be restrictive if you're used to long session creative thinking in your head, which I've almost never met anyone who's truly good at it. It truly is a lost skill, I think. It's something from a simpler time. We're very much used to thinking in artifacts in this society, in the current age. Sitting and getting a lot of progress by just thinking is really difficult. And then I think each layer of software and tools that you introduce is also takes you away from the essence. So pen and paper is your friend. And I would not recommend pencil. You can't let yourself back up. And that's where, the Osborne method kind of comes into play, right? In the early phases of a project, bad time to critique ideas, good time to come up with ideas. Do you think fighters and spellcasters should be equal in power? Absolutely not. Absolutely not, no. Especially advanced spellcasters, they are the crazy avatars of a fantasy world, right? I mean, they're on a slow burn. I love in Rings of Power. I assume that's Gandalf that they're messing with, but he's on this slow burn, and I like that, and that gives wizards a reason. The fighter is more powerful right at the beginning, but then kind of doesn't have a ton of innovative stuff that changes for them. And I think there's a balance there, especially when role played well. I don't think players of any type should be of equal power. I really don't think quote unquote power is what it's about. If your game is about power, to me that suggests that your GM is not hitting you with very diverse challenges. Do you think fighters... Oh wait, sorry, I rewound there. Cool. And there don't have to be a zillion questions, especially on a video like this. It's relatively self-contained, right? So the circle idea, Adramir, is sort of well known out there in the sort of cognitive science and creative tools community. There are tons of these things. There are so many little mnemonic tricks, and I guess you could call them pedagogies. You know, there's these odd little techniques that either teachers, critical thinkers, or creative people use to face the blank page and to get the progress that they need. Yeah, especially when you're just doing it on the regular, not just for fun. You need these tools. I mean, you're like, okay, the weekend is over, time to freaking get creative again. It's Monday morning, and when you did that the previous 4,000 Mondays, tools really do become your friend because they kick the dust off, they get the wheels turning, and you almost sort of shrug your way through whatever happens, and that's how a lot of great ideas get going. How do you give your players loot in your game? We roll on the tables. We find chests, or we're given something, or some flotsam floats up in the ocean, and we roll on the tables. Trust the dice. Jason, yeah, generally all characters should be equal screen time, but that's not even necessarily true in some groups. Some players don't really want equal screen time. They're a bit more passive, and they like to think longer on each action. But you don't want anybody hogging, obviously, and wizards are, of course, notorious for hogging table time with looking up at spells and the details of spells and stuff like that. It's a bit of a running joke, right? So you don't want that to happen, but yeah, equal in power was what was brought up specifically. Yeah. Yeah, and I think feats kind of scratch at this a little bit. I think feats have, in some way, become a little bit crusty because of one thing, their ubiquity, and because there also doesn't seem to feel like and there's an economy to them. They feel very zillions of things, you know what I mean? So I think I did that right. Anyway, yeah, and a healthy group will do their thing on their own. I think I'm going to wrap it up because that was like an hour. That was almost an hour. That was insanely fast. That was bizarre. Thank you guys for tuning in. Looks like the Hard Suit group might come back together this week, and we do have our next OSC game on Sunday night, so you're going to be hearing all about that. You guys, happy Monday. I hope you all having a good week. I mean, we're just at the beginning of it, so you know what to do. Monday is get it done day. Like, you want to be done with everything by Wednesday. You don't really want it to be the end of the week and you're like, oh shit, I got to do some stuff. Like, you know that dude who saves his work till like 4 p.m. every day and then hits you up because he needs like extra glue or something like that. He needs some help in the other room. And you're like, dude, it's 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon. What the fuck you doing? Don't be that guy. Don't do it. It's Monday, get it done day. So use the circle method. Good luck, you guys. Have a great week. And I'll see you soon on that old internet, all right? Peace them on out. Now let's see if I can figure out how to... Come here. Get off of there. Come here. Let's see if... Oh. Got it.